It all started in the early 1960s when Mr. and Mrs. Adams moved into a new home in Detroit, Michigan. They had 5 young children and a dog. Almost immediately after moving in, they noticed that something was going wrong with the back bedroom. All the kids were avoiding it, and even the dog didn't dare go in there. It was a tiny room with only enough room for a small bed and a built-in closet in the corner. Mr. Adams worked the night shift at the Cadillac factory, so when he came home in the morning, he'd go to sleep in the back bedroom. It was far enough away from the busy part of the house that he thought no one would disturb his sleep. Nevertheless, being in the bedroom always made him feel uncomfortable. Almost the first night he started having horrible nightmares. They were so real that he would wake up screaming, shaking with fear. In one of his nightmares, he dreamed that he opened the bedside cabinet door, and from there the blood-soaked, disfigured corpse of a woman fell out upon him. When Adam's mother came to visit, they put her in the far bedroom. The next morning she said she hadn't slept a wink. Her face was pale and the woman was shaking. She claimed she heard horrible noises in the room, as if someone was trying to get into the bedroom, and it went on all night. She refused to spend the night in that bedroom and decided not to stay long, returning to her home. After midnight, the man awoke to the sensation that someone was turning him over. He opened his eyes and saw someone standing in the bedroom doorway. It was a woman with long hair, but she was standing with her back to him. She was wearing a short fur coat and a blue dress. The man got up and headed toward her, but suddenly, the lights throughout the house went out. The man froze in place, finding himself in complete darkness, and when the lights came back on, he suddenly realized that he was in the kitchen. Mrs. Adams was in the kitchen, washing her hair in the sink. Suddenly they both heard a non-human howl that terrified them both, and then a nauseating smell filled the house. Then the door and the floor leading to the basement began to open and slam shut again. Frightened, they called the police. Several police officers searched the house from top to bottom, but found no one. The next morning, when Mr. Adams returned home from his night shift, his wife and friend were waiting for him. Calmly as they could, they told him what they had experienced during the night, but he did not believe them. That night, he decided to go to bed in the back bedroom. He was already dozing when he suddenly heard someone moving around the room. He thought it was his wife, but when he called her name, no one answered him. He rolled over to see who it was and saw a disgusted face just a few inches away. Its eyes stared through it, and its mouth moved as if to say something, but all that came out was a hiss and a terrible stench spread through the room. Adams ran out of the bedroom, wide-eyed and screaming in terror. Running around the house, he tore at the hair on his head. A friend tried to stop him, but he lashed out like a madman. Finally, his wife and friend managed to throw a blanket over him and pin him to the floor. Once again, the whole house was permeated with the nauseating smell they had smelled earlier. After an hour, Adams calmed down and talked about the scary face he had seen. They grabbed the sleeping children and left the house for the street. In the morning, they moved to the home of Adams' parents, who lived in another part of Detroit. The Adams family acknowledged their defeat and left the house and the distant bedroom where the horrible creature was hiding. The creature was later dubbed the Demon of Detroit.